these differences over viewing society, how a Christian should respond to society, how you viewed the end times, all of these things came to a head in a big conflict in the 20th century over premillennialism in the churches of Christ. Some people continue to follow the stone, Lipscomb view of being separate from society, having a pessimistic outlook on society, and there were some of those that were premillennialists. Others abandoned premillennialism because they associated it with the Russellites. And so even though you might, there were Christians before the Russellites who believed in premillennialism. And you could have been influenced by that strain. Barton W. Stone, who lived and died before Russell was even born. People still referred to you as Russellite if you were premillennial. So this controversy develops. And so this opposition side, the side that's opposed to premillennialism, wants to maintain a very strict separation from other denominations. And so they're looking at premillennialism as being connected to these other denominations, like the Russellites, and that they look at it as this is not true to the Bible, this is a denominational doctrine. The main flashpoint for all of this that comes to a head appears to be the teachings of a man named Robert Henry Bull. Bull was born to a Catholic family in Germany in the 19th century, comes to the United States in 1890. Eventually he finds work as a farmhand in Tennessee, and it's there where he comes in contact with the teachings of the Churches of Christ, is influenced by them, is baptized into the Churches of Christ. He will go on to attend Nashville Bible School, which had been started by David Lipscomb. At the time, the president of the school was a man named James Harding, who would be later well known for a different school, actually one in Arkansas versus Tennessee. Nashville Bible School would later serve as the foundation for what would later be Lipscomb University. So today it's known as Lipscomb University.
Where is this?
Nashville.
Nashville. Okay.
So Bull studies there, graduates, starts preaching in a variety of places, eventually settling down in Kentucky.
And what was it called before?
It was called Nashville Bible School.
Nashville Bible School. Okay.
So he settles down in Kentucky after preaching a variety of places. And so he's preaching there. He's also writing frequently. Writes for the Gospel Advocate, which Lipscomb was editing at the time. Yeah, it's still written today. And for a time, he's actually the front page editor. So he's very prominent in this. But he's writing about these premillennial views, and gradually people start to oppose him, and so he's forced out of the editorship in 1915. He goes to writing for another journal called Word and Work. It had been started in 1908 in New Orleans, and had been focused on restoring primitive Christianity in the Gulf Coast region. And so as far as Texas, across to Alabama, etc. It had kind of remained with the Churches of Christ through the separation, condemned a lot of the things the disciples were doing, and began to support a premillennial outlook, even though the original manager was postmillennialist. He's kind of forced out and actually disfellowshipped by a local church in the area. And the paper is eventually sold to Bull. So he starts writing for it in 1916. He's very premillennial and would eventually accept the dispensational version of premillennialism that we talked about with fundamentalism. But finds himself opposed by a variety of individuals, One of the major early controversies is with a man named H. Leo Bowles, who is he's the president of David Lipscomb College at this point. So by this point in the debate, Lipscomb has passed on. They've renamed National Bible School Lipscomb College, David Lipscomb College, and so they debate between each other. Bowles, I know their names are very similar. They spell differently, but when you say them, they sound almost very similar. So H. Leo Bowles took the position that, it's a very positive outlook on human potential. Human beings were getting better as they were shaped by the gospel, and to argue otherwise, that human beings were getting better with the spread of Christianity, Bowles felt was to argue that the church was a failure, which he felt Robert Bowl was arguing. Robert Bowl, on the other hand, argued that the only hope for Christians, the goal of Christians, was Jesus' return. And that's the thing that they should be focused on. We'll go ahead and stop there for today. We'll finish up after spring break with a little bit left about premillennialism, and then we'll talk about some other issues that are developing in other segments.